Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 89th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Well, it's June, and that means it's Pride Month. So, shout out to all my subs or anyone watching this that are a part of the LGBT community. I hope Pride Month is great for you guys. Now, I'm not a member of this community, but I was excited for this month like I am every year because I love watching LGBT stories. I don't know why, but they hit on a different level. I binge these things all month long, and man, I've already watched some good ones. I've seen and haven't seen. Just want to let you guys know I'll be dropping LGBT videos for the rest of the month. I have a subscriber request to do, but everything else will all be about Pride. The last video of the month, I'm working hard on it, will be the best LGBT movies of all time, and I hope you guys subscribe to see it. I'm very proud of it, and I've been waiting to do it. Okay, so today, we're going to talk about a film I watched a lot as a kid with my mother, To Wong Foo. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar, 1995, directed by Bebang Kidron. Okay, I wanted to kick off the month with something fun because my next review won't be as light as this one. This is a 1995 classic that I haven't seen in about 15 to 20 years, but man, watching this brought back memories. Now, before I get into this review, I am sure that cinephiles will say, well, this movie isn't as good as a similar film that came out the year before, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which I actually paired these films together. I did this on purpose. I wanted a real-time, back-to-back look at them, and while I will say Priscilla is a much better film, there is a charm and warmth to To Wong Foo. It has a heartbeat and a pulse that is actually quite compelling, and it's fiercely entertaining, just like Priscilla. Now, why did I pick the inferior film? Well, a few reasons. One, I wanted to bring people down memory lane with something more familiar, as a lot of people haven't seen Priscilla. Two, I think it was important to the advancement of LGBT cinema in Hollywood. And three, the three leads are worth talking about on their own. To Wong Foo, a 90s movie that feels super 90s, yet takes on something Hollywood wasn't really doing. Before we even dive in, I think it's important to note the progression all over this movie. If this movie came out now with three big time actors, it would likely be seen as service to social justice warriors or just the LGBT community itself. But given the taboo nature of the topic at the time, I think this film is progressive on another level. It stars Pat Swayze, rest in peace, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo, a white, black, and Hispanic actor. The former two being two of the biggest and most masculine names in Hollywood and box office draws. This film, I think, does this intentionally along with keeping them in drag the entire duration of the film. Us only seeing Pat without his wig twice in the whole film. I think this director wanted to show not only the three major races of America at the time, but also bring down our walls and see them as what they identify as. We see that not only is this lifestyle non-exclusive to any group, but non-exclusive to any type of man. Masculine and muscular men are playing these roles. People we know to be men's men. With seeing them in drag for an hour and 45, it strips the stigma of the masculine frame, leaving the watcher empathetic to these ladies, even if it may be something you don't jive with. I mean, this movie hits on a lot of these for a comedy, and looking back almost 30 years later, I think this film is still very relevant, even with a far more accepting society. So, we start out with our three leads competing in a drag show, which the winner will have an opportunity to compete in LA. They're from New York. Swayze and Snipes tie for the win, and they both get to go. They end up taking along Chi-Chi, John Leguizamo's character, with them on a 90s style road trip movie. Chi-Chi isn't quite as polished as the other two ladies, and they want to help her. Now, this movie is a time capsule to show us not only how gays were treated, but also how women and people of color were treated. It was nice to watch and reflect on how far we've come, but also sad to think that not long ago, gays couldn't even get married. It was a nice reminder of our past so we don't repeat it, while also serving as a safety blanket for our future humans. The use of language in this film, a lot of people think hasn't aged well. I think they do, because a lot of it is accurate to the beliefs and how people talk then. Is it language we may use now? No. But what do you expect from a 30-year-old movie that came out and the heart of a lot of things going on in the gay community that I'm not going to speak on here. Now, we know what's going on. Let's discuss the characters a bit. Vita is played by the late and great Patrick Swayze, and what is likely his best and most charismatic performance. Vita is a tall, strong built lady who is a polite and kind woman, but shows us everyone has their limits at times. She dresses age appropriate, wearing the clothes you'd see a stylish middle aged woman wearing. She carries herself with class and grace and always tries to see the light in everyone. She helps a lot of people even when they don't ask for it, and it hurts and helps a lot. She is the leader of the group and makes most of the decisions despite pushback from the gang. Now, I'll be honest, Pat doesn't look bad in drag, but man, he was so yoked, which is cool because we see a lot of ladies who have muscles and are tall now. I think he just looked like a middle aged lady who took good care of herself. Noxzema, played by Blade himself, Wesley Snipes. Now, I'm not sure why we got Wesley for this. Not because he can't act, because he's stellar in this. But man, his look I personally don't feel was it for this role. But you do not care after you see his talent unfold in front of you. Noxzema isn't as loving or accepting as Vita. Now they are friends, but very opposites in almost every single way. The way they dress, skin color, attitude, drag style, etc. In fact, they argue over whether they should bring Chi-Chi along in the first place, as Noxzema does not want to. She is flamboyant, eccentrically dressed, and has crazy hairstyles, lots of makeup, which just makes Wesley's skin look like dark plaster. Noxzema is hard-nosed, but you understand. Being a black drag queen, she needs to be tough to survive this world. As far as Wesley's look, he looks bad, man. I'm sorry. I love this man, but he was just so jacked, and his hair and the makeup, it all just looked bad. That's my opinion, but to each their own. Last, but definitely not least, we got Chi-Chi, played by John Leguizamo. Chi-Chi is the youngest of the bunch and is a bit of a mess, but no doubt the prettiest of them all. She's rough around the edges and takes no crap. She wants to be adored and find love. She wants to be the best drag queen she can be, but in reality, she's got a long way to go. She ends up with these other two ladies by chance and rolls on the trip with them. Along the way, the other two girls show her a thing or two about being a drag queen. John Leggs played this role to perfection, and it really may be the best of his career. It's crazy he didn't get a lot more opportunities like this later in life. Who had the best performance in this can be debated, but I think it would have to go to John. Now that we got the characters out the way, let me start by saying this. I'm not a member of the LGBT community, so this is an outsider's looking in opinion on everything I'm going to talk about. I mean no disrespect in anything if I say something that may offend anyone. So let's get this crystal clear. Although I do personally love this movie, it's not one I'd lump in with the greatest LGBT movies. Will it make my list that is coming at the end of the month? That remains to be seen. But I have a personal love for this movie. But I can easily see why critics didn't like it much upon release. Having said all that, this movie hits on a lot of different levels despite its shortcomings and its deliveries. The lifestyle of the men in drag was becoming more accepted in '95, but as this movie will show you, it was still very rough. And some men in drag had a lot more to face than just being gay. Anyone watching knows what they went through, and I'm not going to talk about the dark much because this is a fun movie. Of course, I will point some things out, but I want us to have fun with this one. The thing I love most about this movie is the men are in drag the entire time and never break character at any moment. I think this adds so much charm and fun to the film, breaking down our walls and making us see them for what they want to be seen as women. Even though you know it's Pat, you're calling him her by the end of the movie. He's your lady friend with an Adam's apple. If you've seen the movie, you'll understand that. I think this was brilliant on the part of the filmmakers and drives the point home. We only fear what we don't understand. And us spending time with these girls, we realize that we can care for them and want the best for all of them, despite what your beliefs may be. These are regular people like anyone else. They just may happen to live a different lifestyle than you might. We all have our opinions, preconceived notions, and natural prejudice, but I think films like this give us a great perspective on people different from us. As these girls go on the road, they learn new things about each other and, most important, themselves. When the girls end up lost in some random southern state, they get pulled over by a racist cop who profiles Chi Chi and Noxzema and tries to S.A. Vita. This cop disrespected all of them, but Chi Chi and Noxzema have it a little bit harder. Not only are they gay, but they are minorities, and in the mid 90s, I can only imagine how they would have been treated. In New York, it's a little different, but down south, man, these girls learn some hard lessons. Despite this, we are still having fun. The girls laugh, joke, argue, and run into a whole bunch of stuff. Now, as queens, these ladies are quite resourceful and knowledgeable. To have the knowledge of how to be a man and the mindset to think like a woman can really come in handy. We see these women change the lives of others around them, and they do it with joy. The best example will be Vita helping Carol Ann with her abusive husband, forming a bond with this woman, and just knowing how to be there as a friend. In exchange, Vita learns a lot about herself and how people around her perceive her. She learns that everything she thinks and does isn't always right, even if it is well intended. Noxzema breaks the elder recluse out of her shell, and it turns out she's a major cinephile. Noxzema, being the most reluctant in almost every situation, ends up learning that she is more than just a fierce diva, but a loving friend, a caring soul, and a very respectful and classy lady. Chi Chi blossoms the most. Like I said, she was a little rough around the edges, but she does maybe the most sacrificing of all, giving up the man she liked so someone else could have him. It was the one thing she wanted, love, and she found it, but she did the right thing and gave him up. Watch the movie and you'll understand why. The movie is colorful and exciting with bright colored outfits and very out there set designs. These men melt into these roles and making the movie far more compelling than it should be. The script isn't great, but the actors bring this thing to life. I mean, it's one of those movies where some outsiders come to a place and change everything about it for the better. I think the most important thing they gifted these men were the gift of manners and respect. There's a scene where Noxzema grabs the dude by his nuts and forces him to apologize for disrespecting a group of ladies. It's silly, of course, but these men were just ridiculous. There's quite a few themes in here, and I don't have all day to break them down. But I'll say this. I think this movie is aged very well. I know some people have a problem with the language, but that was the language of the time, and it's good to remember where we came from. It's a fun time with some brilliant performances and a lot of laughs. If you like LGBT flicks, start Pride Month off with a fun one and watch this. So overall, I'm going to give To Wong Foo a 7.7 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my To Wong Foo review. Let me know if there's a film or topic you want me to go over. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I'll link that down below. I got a podcast with my buddy, The Cutting Room Floor. I'll link that below for more movie content. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.